What do you do when the world spins out of control? When the storms of life hit loss, failure, chaos, our instinct is to panic. We run, we scream, we try to fight the waves. But have you ever noticed, the more you panic, the stronger the storm feels? What if the only way to survive the storm is to become the one place the storm cannot touch? This was the lesson awaiting Captain Kaelen. His ship, the Wanderer, was his pride, his life, but tonight it was a toy in the hands of a furious god. A hurricane had descended without warning. Waves, the size of mountains, crashed over the deck, splintering wood and sending torrents of freezing water across the boards. Thunder cracked so loud it felt like the sky itself was splitting open. Kaelen was a frantic blur on the deck. Secure the mainmast. No, pull in the jib. All hands, brace for impact. His voice, shredded by the wind, was laced with terror. He ran from one side of the ship to the other, his eyes wide with a fear so potent it was like a sickness. His crew, seeing their leader unravel, became a reflection of his chaos. A young sailor fumbled a knot, letting a critical rope whip free. Another man froze, staring at an oncoming wave, paralyzed by dread. The ship was in danger, not just from the ocean, but from the fear that had infected every soul on board. And at the heart of that infection was Kaelen, who felt so utterly, crushingly helpless, overwhelmed, choking on salt water and despair. Kaelen stumbled away from the deck's chaos. He needed the charts. He needed a plan. He burst into the map room, the ship groaning and tilting violently beneath his feet. And there, he saw something that made no sense. In the corner, sitting serenely in a simple wooden chair that was bolted to the floor, was old Oren. Oren was the ship's navigator, a man who had sailed for 60 years and had been blind for the last 20. While the world outside was a symphony of destruction, Oren was an island of impossible peace. He was slowly, deliberately, sipping a cup of tea. He didn't spill a single drop. Kaelen stared, breathless. His mind couldn't process the scene. He finally found his voice, a raw scream against the roar of the wind. Oren, what are you doing? How can you just sit there? We are going to die. The storm is too strong. Oren carefully placed his cup into its saucer, the porcelain making a soft click that seemed louder than the hurricane. He turned his sightless eyes to Oren Kaelen's voice. His own voice was low and steady, a stark contrast to the captain's panic. The storm is outside, Captain. Why have you let it inside? Kaelen just gaped, confused. What are you talking about? Look at us. The ship is being torn apart. Oren gestured vaguely towards the ship's helm, just visible through the doorway. Look at the wheel, Kaelen, the outer rim, where the spokes end. It moves fast. When the ship lurches, it spins wild and dizzy. It is pure chaos. But look at the very center, the axle. It does not move. It is still. It is silent. It holds everything together. Kaelen's gaze flickered to the wheel, watching it jerk left and right with the waves. He saw the frantic movement of the rim, and then his eyes found the center point. Oren was right. The axle was the anchor, the unmoving point around which all chaos revolved. Oren's voice continued, cutting through the noise. To lead this ship, you have been running on the rim, spinning with the chaos. You are trying to match the storm's energy. That is a battle you will always lose. He leaned forward slightly. You must move to the center, Captain. The ocean cannot be controlled, Kaelen. The waves will not listen to your orders. The wind will not obey your commands. But your mind can be, your spirit can be. You must become the eye of the storm, silent, still. Only from there can you truly see the way out. The words landed like a physical blow. A bolt of lightning, brighter than anything in the sky, struck Kaelen's mind. He had been so focused on the external storm, the wind, the water, that he hadn't realized he had created a second one, a storm of panic, of fear, of chaos, right inside his own heart. And that internal storm was far more dangerous. It was the one sinking his ship. He stopped running. He stopped shouting. For the first time since the squall hit, he took a full, deep breath. He imagined himself at the center of the wheel. He felt the frantic energy of his fear recede, replaced by a quiet, heavy stillness. The roar of the thunder seemed to fade, becoming a distant rumble rather than an immediate threat. He was still on a ship in a hurricane, but he was no longer in the hurricane. He was the calm at its center. He understood true power wasn't in fighting the waves. It was in keeping his hand steady on the helm, in guiding the ship through the forces he could not control. Kaelen turned and walked back onto the deck. The crew saw him and flinched, expecting more frantic orders. But the captain who returned was not the one who had left. He did not shout. He walked calmly to the helm, his steps sure and steady despite the lurching of the ship. His voice, when he spoke, was low, firm, and radiated an unshakable calm. Steady the mainsail. Hold the line starboard. His calm was more shocking than his panic had been. It cut through the crew's fear like a hot knife through butter. Their wide, terrified eyes found his, and in them they saw not fear, but focus, resolve. They stopped panicking and started working. Knots were tied, sails were secured. The ship, now guided by a steady hand and a unified crew, stopped fighting the waves and began to move with them. It sliced through a towering wall of water that might have shattered them moments before. They survived. As the first light of dawn broke through the bruised and battered clouds, Captain Kaelen stood at the helm. He wasn't fighting the storm. He wasn't conquering it. He was guiding his ship and his people right through the heart of it. Because he had finally learned to be the one thing the storm could never touch, its calm, unwavering center. The moral is that we cannot control the storms that happen to us, but we can control the storm inside us. When we find our inner center and remain calm, we become the lighthouse that guides ourselves and others to safety. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe for more stories that help you navigate the storms of life.